Good day! Welcome back to Mathusay Math 9 tutorial. In this lesson, you will learn how to solve any quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. In the previous video, you learned three different methods in solving quadratic equations, like solving quadratic equations by extracting square roots, especially if you have a quadratic equation in the form of ax squared minus c equals 0. You also learned how to solve quadratic equation by factoring. And lastly, you learned how to solve quadratic equation by completing the square. This time, we will use the quadratic formula to solve it. So the quadratic formula is actually x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. We have to make sure that a must not be equal to 0. But first, let me show you how we derive this general formula by applying the completing the square and extracting square roots. Consider ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We will apply completing the square first. So our goal is to isolate the constant c on the right side of the equation. So we have to add negative c to both sides of the equation. So we'll have ax squared plus bx equals the negative c. Next step is we divide both sides of the equation by a. You will have x squared plus b over ax equals negative c over a. Now we get the numerical coefficient of x, which is b over a, and then we'll get the half of it. After that, we square it. So the numerical coefficient of x is b over a. When you get the half of it, you will have b over 2a, and then you square it, you will have b squared all over 4a squared. So this value, b squared over 4a squared, will be added to both sides of the equation to form a perfect square trinomial. So, i-add natin si b squared over 4a squared to both sides of the equation. Now, we have a perfect square trinomial on the left side. So, we rewrite it in the form of as a square of binomial. So, we'll have x plus b over 2a squared. And on the other side of the equation naman, we combine these two expressions. We know that the LCD is 4a squared. So we'll have 4a squared divided by 4a squared is 1 times b squared is b squared. 4a squared divided by a, you'll have 4a times c, 4ac. Now we get the square root of both sides of the equation. You will have x plus b over 2a equals positive or negative b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Now we can simplify the 4a squared on the right side of the equation. So to find the value of x, we add negative b over 2a to both sides of the equation. So we have x equals negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 4a. So we can simplify 4a squared in the denominator because it is a perfect square. So you will have x is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Since we have two rational expressions with the same denominator, so we can add it. So we'll have x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Given that a must not be equal to 0. This is how we derive the formula of the quadratic. So we will use this to solve any quadratic equations. Let's have example number 1. Find the solutions of the equation x squared minus 10x plus 16 equals 0 using the quadratic formula. So, ang unang step natin is to identify the values of a, b, and c. In this case, the value of a, b, and c are 1, -10, and 16 respectively. So, we can now use these values to substitute it in the quadratic formula. So, since we know the values of a, b, and c, substitute na lang natin. So, we have, yung b natin is -10, -10 sa loob, then you have your a is 1, and c is 16. So, negative times -10 is positive 10. Sa loob naman ng square root, -10 squared is 100. -4 times 1 is -4. Times 16, it's -64. Then, all over 2. Now, we can still simplify the numbers inside this radical. So, 10 plus or minus the square root of 36 because 100 minus 64 is 36 all over 2. Now, to find the values of x, we can still simplify square root of 36. And we know that it is 6. So, we have x is equal to 10 plus or minus 6 all over 2. Now, we have two solutions for this equation. The other one is 10 plus 6 over 2, and the other is 10 minus 6 over 2. Now, let's simplify the solutions. 10 plus 6 is 16. Divided by 2, it's 8. So, one of the solutions is 8. The other solution, we have 10 minus 6 is 4. Divided by 2, it's 2. Therefore, the solutions or the roots of the equation x squared plus 10x plus 16 equals 0 are 2 and 8. Let's have example number 2. Solve the equation 2x squared plus 3x minus 27 equals 0 using the quadratic formula. Again, we get the values of a, b, and c. We have 2, 3, and -27. Again, isa-substitute na lang natin to sa general formula, which is x is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have the negative of 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared, dahil ang b natin is 3, minus 4 times 2 times -27 all over 2a. So, we simplify this, we'll have negative times 3, -3. Plus or minus, we have 3 squared, which is 9. Now, -4 times 2 is -8. Times the -27, it's 216. Sa denominator, we have 2 times 2, which is 4. Now, we combine 9 and 16, and we'll have 225. Now, we know that 225 is a perfect square, so we can still simplify it. So, we have x is equal to -3 plus or minus 15 because the square root of 225 is 15 all over 4. Now, we have two solutions for this. One is x is equal to -3 plus 15 all over 4, and the other one is x is equal to -3 minus 15 all over 4. Now, we simplify the roots. For the first solution, we have x is equal to 3 because -3 plus 15 is 12. Divided by 4, it's +3. The other solution naman, we have negative 3 minus 15 all over 4. We know that it is negative 18 all over 4, but we can still simplify this one into x is equal to negative 9 over 2. Therefore, the solutions of the equation 2x squared plus 3x minus 227 equals 0 are 3 and negative 9 over 2. Again, take note that the quadratic formula can be used to solve any quadratic equations. Please pause the video and try these exercises. And don't forget to type your answers on the comments section. If you have learned something from this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember, ang sikreto para maging mathusay, matuto, at mag-ensayo. See you all on the next lesson. Bye!